All right, the Celtics claimed their 18th title last night. Celtics win the series 4-1 against the Mavs. It was another blowout victory for them. What was your takeaways from the series as a whole?
Uh, Jaylen Brown, underrated,
Mm,
had a magical playoff run. He deserved Finals MVP. I don't care that Tatum, uh, because Tatum was the first person to lead his team in points, rebound, and assists, not to get Finals MVP.
mm.
Um,
And don't you think a
which
little bit of that is like the eye test?
definitely, I think a lot of that is the eye test because I feel like Brown also took all of the defensive jobs. You
Yeah,
know, took on Luka, he took on Kyrie consistently. You
yeah,
know, um, and dominated in those matchups. Honestly, I don't know
yeah.
exact numbers, but he definitely dominated. Against them, offensively and defensively. They couldn't check him, and he was checking them. I mean, Kyrie
Facts.
didn't have a single good game in Boston.
Facts.
Averaging like 17 shots in Boston, only averaging 14 points in Boston. That's very un-Kyrie like. Back home, he's averaging 28. So,
Yeah,
that's without a fourth quarter in one of those games too. So
yeah,
at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like put some respect on Jaylen Brown's name. Everybody say he was overpaid when he got that contract. Everybody was saying, trade him, trade him, trade him, trade him, trade him. They
yeah.
tried, he was in trade talks for year after year for the longest. They tried to get KD there. I bet you if KD was there, I don't know if it would have went the same way. You know,
Hey,
I don't know if Kyrie, KD was checking Kyrie and Luka like that. You
nah,
know,
he can't check Anthony Edwards.
full court too, full court.
Hey,
Full court. He's picking up 94 feet. So, and I think that's why he ultimately got it over Tatum. Because it was the defensive side. You know, I think Tatum played good though. Definitely not
yeah,
an issue. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it was Browns, man. That my take from it is Jaylen Brown.
yeah.
That's it, man. Put some respect on his name. Well deserved. I'm happy for Al Horford. Been in the league a very long time. We've been, take it back to Atlanta. Horford been in the league a long time, man. Finally got that ring he's been chasing after. To kind of cap off an illustrious career and go into retirement happy. Jrue Holiday getting another ring, capping
Yeah.
off the fact that he's potentially a Hall of Famer when he's done with this career of his. Porzingis getting a ring, you know,
Mhm.
that's big. And he played too, 16 minutes. And so, hey,
And he
you
played big
know,
in games one and game two. I believe
yeah,
he
he
showed
won
out.
them game one. He won
Facts,
them game one.
without a doubt.
That's a fact. He won
Yeah,
them game one.
yeah. Not
Yeah,
to mention
that's
mid
my
ranges,
takeaway.
threes, defense, over 7 foot. He
Yeah,
Karl Anthony Towns should take some notes from Porzingis, truthfully, about how you should play at that size and height. Porzingis shut things down on the defensive
yeah,
end, and then offensively, he actually hit big shots, mid range, unstoppable. Underneath the basket, we don't even have to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I agree with you there. I would say the biggest thing I noticed too, just to your point, real quick for Jaylen Brown. I mean, Luka averaged 29 in this series. You know what I mean? I believe during the regular season he averaged over 30. So the Boston definitely did their job as much as they could against a player like him. I put the fault on Kyrie personally. My question after this series ended was where was Kyrie? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Because in
yeah,
TD Garden, you mentioned it, you touched on it. He averaged 17 shots. He only averaged 14 points. You know, honestly, it was for as he deserves all the praise that he got, truthfully, leading up to this series. But this was one of those series where I really believed he should have got on the phone and spoke to some players who had been in this situation before him and asked, what do you do when a hostile crowd is going against you? And they would have told him, you have to block that out. You know what I'm saying? Get that out of your head and just remember it's about basketball. Because had he showed out in games one, game two, or maybe even game five, Dallas would be in this game. But before I put all the fault on Kyrie, I want to touch Luka real quick and say, what are you doing fouling out in game four? Game
hey,
three. What are you doing fouling out when your team is only down by one and it's under 5 minutes to go in the game? What are you doing fouling
Seriously,
out? And
hey,
honestly,
this cigar goes to
to the
the
Celtics,
Boston Celtics, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, man. That was that, before I put all the blame on Kyrie, man, Luka, what were you doing fouling out in game 3? That was destructive to your team's goal. Honestly. If it's a what if question, yes, it's a what if question, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But if Luka Doncic does not foul out in game 3, there is a high chance that they actually pull that victory out in game 3. There's a chance there. You know what I'm saying? So before I put all the blame on Kyrie, I believe that was a huge thing because emotionally he couldn't control himself during a lot of the points in this series, especially in those first 3 games. He couldn't control himself, arguing at the refs and perpetually over the course of a series, it really starts to show. Your team's getting outscored. But the second you start to not outscored, the second you start to yell at the ref because you didn't get the call, it's now 5 people on Boston's side down there, and it's only 4 people on your team. And Boston still great ball movement, and they're able to put up those shots, and it steamrolls so fast. A lot of the games that Boston won, I didn't even watch, like the last 2 quarters of it. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
they did what they were supposed to do. I'm happy for Boston. I believe they deserved it. Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP. I was one of those people. I wouldn't say I questioned the money that he got, but I definitely was like, hey, is this guy actually like worth that? You know what I'm saying? Are we just paying players now? You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, that put him as one of the highest paid players in the NBA when he got that deal, correct?
yeah, nah, yeah. First with the $300 million deal. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
um, can't what's not being said is and I'm looking over the series stats because I just wanted to check this. Luka averaged 5 turnovers in this series.
Yeah,
Now that was Brian. This would have been brought up a lot. No one brought up Luka's turnovers. He had 7 in the closeout game.
yeah.
Like, okay, even if you had 28, you gave up 7 possessions. You know, in that other
Mhm.
game, he had like 8. So Luka, I mean, averaging 5 turnovers is just bad.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's just bad. I don't think no one in Boston got remotely close. They didn't. The worst was Tatum at 3. Remember, Tatum first finals, he couldn't stop turning it over. He
yeah,
averaged like 6 turnovers in his first finals versus the Warriors.
yeah.
Your best guy cannot be turning the ball over. Point blank.
Facts.
Period. That's just the truth.
Facts.
So like you
Facts.
said, man, I mean, all in all, Luka, 'cause some people said he was the best player in the series. I disagree. I believe Jaylen Brown was the best player in the series because
On
the
both
ball
ends.
goes both ways. Goes both ways. Another thing that they would bring up if this was LeBron, KD, or Curry, Luka, 58% from the free throw line.
Yeah, yeah.
Come on,
I told you,
come
game
on.
two. Game two, they lost by like
You,
what, 8 points or something like that, and they missed like 8 of
you're
free
not getting.
throws.
You're only making half of your free throws, man. That's
Yeah,
not going to work. It's
yeah,
just not. And that's going to cost you down the line. And it did. You're
yeah.
turning the ball over, not making your free throws. I don't care how many assists or rebounds you're getting when you're really messing up in other crucial areas. You
Absolutely.
didn't tighten it up. And he admitted to that after the game. Like, I just got to be better, and he does. You
Yeah.
know, get those points without giving up points like that.
Facts.
That's the difference between, to me, Brown and Luka. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, I mean, Brown got Eastern Conference Finals MVP and NBA Finals MVP. So respect to his name, man. I just want to keep shouting him out because I truly believe he did his job.
Yeah,
You know,
hats off to Boston as a whole, and especially to Jaylen Brown. I believe we talked about that probably was after game 3 or it was after game 2, and we said Jaylen Brown actually has that dog in him, and Tatum just looks like he has it in him. You know what I'm saying? Like Jaylen
yeah,
Brown actually he did a lot of things aside from just putting up points, but on the defensive end, shutting down Kyrie, blocking Kyrie, stopping Luka, ripping up Luka. Also too, yesterday was a couple of steals in the first quarter that allowed Boston to go on a run. But go back to game 1, Jaylen Brown on Luka, stripping him up twice. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Hats off to him. And I want to say hats off to Jrue Holiday. You know what I'm saying? I don't want his name to go underrated in when, as time moves on. You know what I'm saying? I actually was one that after game 3, I said, if Tatum doesn't have a good game and Brown doesn't have a good game, please give this man finals MVP. Because what he's doing on both ends when he's scoring is just as important as how he's scoring, the defensive plays that he's on, the people that he's guarding, he's doing his job. You know what I'm saying? You told me
Yeah,
a stat right before we
yeah,
started rolling about how he was the first player in NBA history to win the first year he joined the team.
yeah, yeah. Jrue Holiday, yeah,
Yeah,
first player in history to win a championship twice on for the first year he won. He joined the
twice.
team. Yeah, he did it twice. Joined the
Yeah.
team the first year, won a championship, Milwaukee and in Boston. And I'll give you one more stat for Jrue Holiday: 50, 40, 90. Okay,
Wow. Wow.
53% from the
Wow.
field, 42% from three, and 100% from the free throw line. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and just for I mean, average 14 points. You know what I'm saying? All crucial. Luka was at 47 field, 24% from three, and just say Kyrie 27. So both of them piss poor, and
Yeah.
Luka with the bad free throw percentage. And Tatum, another reason why I believe, Brown was the guy. Tatum, 38% from the field for the series. That doesn't sound like a finals MVP, honestly, if you ask me.
Nah.
Um,
He
not
wasn't
when you're the guy. Not when
facts.
you're the guy. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Can't be shooting 38% from the field.
I'll
You
say
know.
this in Tatum's regard. One pre-game press conference and one post-game press conference to me was when I took him out of my uh finals MVP debate as a whole to start the series after game 1, saying I was nervous out there. I didn't like hearing that because you've been here before and you're at home. And you got the best team. There's no reason you should be nervous, nor should that even be coming out of your mouth. That's something you say when, like, they're having legacy about your documentary. You say I was nervous after this, not during the series. And then pregame before this last game, him saying, it doesn't matter if we win game 5 or not because we got more games to play in this or whatever. So we shouldn't be nervous. I didn't like hearing it. To me almost sounded like you were giving them game 5. Had
Yeah.
Kyrie showed up, who knows? But it sounded like you were giving him game 5. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No dog in them. You know.
No dog in them at all. And honestly, I want to say this for any Boston fans listening to this. It's not so much that I don't have a lot to say about Boston. Even though I did pick them to win this finals, I was rooting for the Mavericks. And to me, Boston did what I expected Boston to do. You know what I'm saying? They have a better team than them. They have a better team than Dallas. They have way more. There's no reason why this final shouldn't have been a sweep. So I'm not like, I don't have much to say about Boston. They did exactly what I expected them to do. They did what they did all season long, and I'm proud of them for doing that. I'm glad Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum have taken the monkey off their back, and hopefully these two stay together as a duo moving forward, for these years to come, because I think they can accomplish a whole lot more than just one finals ring together. So I do want to say that I am very proud of Boston, but I don't have much to say. I was rooting for the Mavericks in this series. I was actually rooting for them. I picked Boston, but I was rooting for the Mavericks. So I don't have too much to say about Boston, but hats off to them. They deserve everything they get moving forward. And I don't think anybody should take anything away from Jayson Tatum, even though I'm saying he doesn't have that dog in him. He's proved that he doesn't have that dog in him by the things that he's done in this series. So, but hats off to Boston. Next question I want to ask, and I asked this to start it off, but where was Kyrie at, man? If you ask me, it's
He
not so much
wasn't in
that
Boston. He was
yeah,
only in
he
Dallas.
wasn't in Boston. He wasn't in Boston. I, to me, this is to your point. I believe this series could have gone down differently if Kyrie had been playing with a player like LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Only
Mm.
because Luka is not doing anything to like help you in your woes coming to
They
TD
didn't double
Garden.
him. They
You know
didn't
what I'm
double
saying?
Luka.
They didn't
They
even
didn't double Luka.
even if they don't, if LeBron is out there and he's playing alongside Kyrie and they're in a situation like this at TD Garden where Kyrie's going through all this and that, LeBron is not going to do anything to compromise you as a player. You know what I'm saying? He's
Yeah.
not going to get fouled out. He's gonna control the pace. If he needs to go faster, he's gonna go faster. If he needs to slow it down, he's gonna slow it down. He's gonna know when to do those things. He's also gonna get you involved and get you some easy buckets. That's something I didn't see out of Dallas at all this series between Luka and Kyrie. Why? Where are you helping the other person get an easy bucket to get them started?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not seeing that out of between those two players.
Yeah.
And it was just
But that's why I
disappointing.
feel like that doubling is important. I mean, they would have had to double Brown because Brown would have commanded it.
He would have
If
demanded
that's
it.
for that, it's a difference between like, Luka was a little closer to Kyrie than he was to Bron in this series. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Like,
Facts.
like Luka only averaged 5 assists. That's below his season average. Tatum averaged more assists than Luka.
Yeah,
And
7.
you're supposed to be the person that's, basically their point guard at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's not it is your job to make sure other guys are involved. It's not Luka's job to give you 20 in the first quarter every game. It's Luka's job to make sure PJ Washington is involved. It's his
Yeah.
job to make sure, Lively is involved.
Yeah.
Make those guys be involved. Make Boston have to make adjustments to you, you
Yeah.
know. Instead, they got to stick to their game plan and never had to get outside of themselves. Ever.
Never.
They had to make no adjustments. Play to the game plan. And that's all it
Facts.
was. Luka didn't make them have to change any of that. That's just the truth.
Yeah. What would you grade? What would you grade Luka and Kyrie's performance in this finals? And then what would you grade Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's performance in this finals?
I'll give Luka and Kyrie a C minus. I'll give Tatum and Brown a B plus.
Mm.
Um, Tatum and Brown could have been a little more efficient at the end of the day. They could have been a little more efficient, both of them. I think Brown was only 44% in the whole entire series. Tatum 38. That's just bad. And both of them was in the 20s at three, and that's a 3-point shooting team. So that's just no good. Uh, they both shot relatively well from the free throw line, though, and I think they could have just they. I have to stay there. They was capped out at a B plus because they never had to get outside of that. They didn't have
I
to
see what
force
you're saying.
anything out. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
could have got an A had Mavericks had to push them to an A. They never got pushed.
Yeah.
Stick to the game plan. Don't get beside yourself. Who gets it, and we're going to be the ones that get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And C minus, and that's what Luka carrying. You
Yeah.
ask me Kyrie's F
Yeah,
F
yeah, I
F
bet. I bet. I bet.
F and F. This looked nothing like when it was you and Bron in the finals. Nothing like it. You know, um, yeah,
Nothing.
nothing like it, man. Like I could understand if Luka was average. I mean, if Kyrie was averaging like 25, you know what I'm saying? Which what did he average? 19 in total. What was the average margin of victory? I think after game four, man, Dallas has scored more points in the series than Boston did. But
Yeah.
you're down 3-1.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You lose another game by damn near 20 in the elimination game.
Yeah.
What could you say? What could you say, man? All the props to Boston, though, and they well deserved.
Yeah. I said this before. I believe this series was over after game two. I believe game two was actually the game to win. Because if you win game two, Boston hasn't gotten enough confidence yet to feel like they have this under wraps. They would have been forced to make an adjustment in game three, try some new things out. They had Porzingis in game two as well, so you would have took out their juggernaut sort of mentality. But they didn't do that. I believe that was the game. I believe game three obviously was a death for Dallas, and game four was like, their last little hoorah, whatever you want to call it, and
Yeah,
game five, was what it was. I'm in agreement to you in your grade to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, B plus for sure. There was a little bit of things they could have done, but like you said, they didn't have to. Like I think everybody wanted to see them have like a superhero performance. in one of these games, but they never had to. Like they never had to. They never had to drop more. I don't think anybody had a 35-point game. I don't even think they had a 33-point game. You know what I'm
Didn't
saying?
call for it. Yeah, didn't call for it.
Didn't call for it. Boston played a phenomenal team
Yeah.
game.
Well,
And
they dropped 30 in that one. 30, 30 and 31. Brown and Tatum. What was that, game 3? You know,
yeah,
when they went up 3-0.
you know,
That was the only game they got to 30. But like you said, wasn't necessary. I mean, you had Porzingis give you 20 in the first. He had Jrue give you 26 in the second.
yeah, yeah. Way too much
Yeah.
firepower. Way
I
too
think
much
the
firepower.
best a third player gave Dallas was what, the 17 from
PJ.
PJ?
Yeah,
That was game 1. I don't
yeah,
think no one got over that in general.
yeah.
You know, even with the 5 threes from what's the name in the one win,
Hmm.
you know, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, yeah,
Other than that, that was, you know what I'm saying? He didn't show up for another game and didn't even play in one.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I will say this much. Do you feel like Luka and Kyrie did a good enough job? Do you think the role players for Dallas weren't put in a
I don't
position to score, or do you
I
think
do
they
not
didn't?
I don't want to blame anything on Dallas. Boston was better.
Facts, facts, facts.
So Dallas, go get better. You know what
What
I'm
I'm
saying? Because that's the real question. Did Dallas lose it or did Boston win it? I believe Boston won it. I don't think Dallas lost it. Boston just won it. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't
my
want to say you guys should have did this, or you know what I'm saying, you need this or this. You know what I'm saying? I believe you were just outmatched. So look at your team, look at what you didn't have in certain predicaments throughout the whole playoffs, you know, because you know, Boston never lost more than one game in any series. I mean, you take away the what, 1, 2, 3 losses they took, they damn near swept the whole playoffs.
basically,
You know,
basically.
so yeah.
And I'm gonna touch Boston. The only question I was asking was because you mentioned PJ and his 17 points. Do you feel like, and this is the grade for Luka and Kyrie, do you feel like they did a good enough job of putting their role players in position to score, or they were too ball dominant, or were their role players just incapable?
That's not Kyrie's job.
That's
That's
what I
not
said.
that's
Luka
Luka's job.
for
Yeah.
their grade and adding to their grade, do you feel like they did a good job of doing that,
No,
or do you think,
Luka
yeah,
did not. Luka did not. He didn't command enough on the floor to create it. You know what I'm saying? You got to command that. You know, they got a date when Bron's coming downhill. You got to double him. You know what I'm saying? It should have got to the point where, oh, we're gonna just let Luka be Luka. Okay, I'm gonna give you 50 then. Instead, you're getting these 29, 28s. Those are blowout numbers. You know what I'm saying? If you know, like if you're not sending two or doing something to Bron, he'll give you 50. You know, and I keep saying Bron because I feel like that's the best comparison for Luka Doncic offensively. But I think at some point we got to realize Luka has to play better defense.
yeah.
He just does. You know that, or you need to go get him. I was gonna say Porzingis, but
But you know
you
what
know,
though, and
but
in
Carl Anthony Towns, you need to
please, no,
go
no,
get him a
no,
guy.
no, no,
You know,
no.
go
My
get him a guy. You know, go get him a guy that, you know, sometimes defense on when it comes to your guards, sometimes the defense look a lot better when people don't want to go by you because of who's down there. You know what I'm
that
saying?
is true.
Now, whatever you want to say about Towns, but Towns and Rudy being down there made teams second guess going to the paint. You know what I mean? It just made them second guess it. You're not gonna free willy nilly just run to the paint if you don't have good enough shooters to stretch out that defense. If you can't stretch out their defense, they got 3 guys. Nas Reed, go take Nas Reed from them. Make Nas your starter. He's worth it,
You
you
need
know.
more options, is what you're saying, than just Kyrie. I feel you. I completely
I
agree with
think
that statement.
Kyrie is Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know why Kyrie look better with Bron? Because Luka, if Bron demands that attention, you know, you can't. Your best defender in no way, shape, or form should be on Kyrie.
Well,
He
the
should
only way
be
Luka can
on Luka.
command, the only way Luka can command that attention is with adding the assist to his point total. Because Boston basically for the entire series said, Luka, you go get yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
To your point, even if he scores 50, it still wouldn't have been enough in some of these games. He had put up 30, they lost by more than 20. So even if he had dropped 50, it wouldn't have been enough. But if he's giving you, 30 and 40 and giving you 14, 15, 16 assists because his players, he can, get the ball to shooters, you know what I'm saying? Then it's a different, then you kind of are forced to double him and get the ball out of his hands. But Boston wasn't going to let Dallas play them into that point. Um, Play them in that sort of predicament. I do want to touch into your point of giving Boston all the credit. I do want to share some praise to Joe Mazzulla, their coach. I believe he did a phenomenal job, and I believe Brad Stevens was the Finals MVP. I said this after Game 2. That is, how I felt. The pieces he put together for this team to put them in position to win was absolutely remarkable, and it got them a championship. So hats off to Brad Stevenson. Next, Joe Mazzulla, I believe some of the timeouts he called during the series and some of the things he said during his players during this series and things he said in the post game press conference and things he said leading up into to this series was absolutely genius.
yeah,
Joe Mazzulla, truly, truly, truly a great coach. Well
yeah.
deserving of his team being in the position that they are in. And he deserves a lot of credit. He's actually a remarkable coach. I was watching some of these games and during it, I'm
I
like,
have to
he
agree.
caught a timeout like right here, right when Dallas is either about to come back on a run, just put up 2 to 3 points, was about to take the lead, looked like they were about to take off with the game. Like he just very, very timely timeouts. And every single time after a timeout, Boston always came out and gave you 2 point play, 3 point play, defensive stop, got on a run, like every single time. And not to mention, if you look at this series too, as well, something that's gone over under the radar is the fact that Boston always started quarters off great and they always ended quarters great.
Great. Yeah.
So,
I have to concur with you on that one.
and I would say with that, what is next for Boston in his last 5 minutes? What is next for Dallas?
Um, I think I kind of touched on Dallas. I just believe they need to get a stretch big.
But do you think it
Um,
can really help them in the West? Even if they had grabbed another one of those, do you think they'll be back in this position next year with some moves that they could make? Because you still got
yeah,
Kyrie and Luka.
yeah. They need a stretch big. You need a stretch big. I'm not saying a top dollar one, but like a Nas Reed. You know what I'm saying? A mid level. You know what I'm saying? Stretch big. I mean, Porzingis to Boston. I mean, obviously they already had Porzingis and what went down with that, but I'm not saying specifically him, but guys like him. I also think this is a very different series if Maxi Kleber isn't injured. So you need another
True,
stretch big.
true.
If they have Maxi Kleber, who is deficient on defense, but he would have kept Porzingis or Horford out of the paint. That's just the facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now, because Gafford Lively, you can't. What can you do? If they're in a corner, I can leave them. They're no threat. They are no
Yeah.
threat. So we get the crowd the paint.
They
That's where you
basically
want to
did
go.
what Dallas did to Minnesota in that regard. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Because Minnesota would have beat Dallas if Carl Towns was, hot. He just wasn't hot. He was putting them up though. You can't say he wasn't putting them up,
Yo, yeah,
and
like 40.
it's like,
Yeah, like
yeah, that's
40
what I'm saying,
shots.
man.
Yeah, like
You
40
know,
attempts.
um, but yeah, bro. What else can you say? What do you think?
For which team? For Dallas. I think what's next for Boston is they have all the confidence in the world for next season. I don't believe you'll see any more jitters out of Tatum in any huge, games or anything like that. I believe the chemistry is only going to get better. I truthfully believe that Boston could be right back here next year. Dame and Giannis might say something. I might have something to say about that, but personally, I feel like Boston could very well be right back here next year. with way more confidence, way more chemistry. And I think they could definitely get
Don't
another
forget
chip.
Jimmy.
Well, you said, hey,
Yeah.
hey,
If he get a guy,
hey,
he get a guy.
hey. That's some things we could
Nah,
talk about
I'm
on
just saying
another.
he's your favorite player. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh no, he's a beast. He's a beast.
you know.
I was not discrediting Jimmy. And you know how I
Like
felt about.
who's gotten rings out of the East? You know, Boston and Milwaukee. Who's beat them before? Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy's been
You
to the
know,
finals too. Jimmy's been to the finals too.
twice.
And let's not
You know,
forget.
twice.
Let's not
Twice
for,
in a 3 year span at that.
and let's not forget. Had he hit that three on Boston, it might have been him playing Golden State that year and not Boston. You know what I'm saying? So, but I just feel like Boston's team. They're in position to win another one of these within the next couple of years for sure. I think what's next for Dallas is the gauntlet. You know what I mean? Like the West is only gonna get better, bro. Like it ain't really too much.
Yeah,
Even if they got to stretch big, okay, now go play Denver.
because you know who coming back.
Everybody's coming back. So it's like
No, 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 no. You know who coming back.
who's
It's a
coming?
party in my city. Yeah. John Morant, baby. Y'all he took a year off. But Ja
Hey,
coming back, bro.
yeah, he
They
ain't nothing.
forget Ja was number one seed. They forget Ja was doing all that Anthony Edwards was doing first. I'm not gonna let that slip people's mind, bro. Ja
I've
coming back.
I've brought that up too many times to too many people about John Moran and Anthony Edwards. You know what I'm saying? They basically had the same trajectory. One of them just took a year off, and one kept progressing. You know what I mean? But yeah, again though, even with again to my point, Dallas go back to the gauntlet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
there
Well,
ain't
they had to be all 50 win teams.
no. I'm
You know
not.
what I'm saying?
Honestly,
So it's like,
they're not here by luck. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there
no,
are a lot of
no.
teams next year who are going to be in position to win again, and you're going to have to play all of those teams again. Boston is not going to have to. We listed two teams that could give him the most problems. Boston most Miami and Milwaukee. Yeah, maybe the Knicks, the Pacers, you know what I mean? But those two teams are really where everybody's eyes are at for Boston's comp. Boston could beat those teams. Dallas, however, you got like six or seven teams that you're gonna have to
Hey,
be. You know
I
what I
ain't sleeping
mean?
on Philly either.
And you shouldn't. And with that,
No,
bro,
that's
it's been a good episode, man. We got to do this again, talk about what's next for everybody and what's next for all those people. But
and then get into